All right, so you've inherited a home in Palm Beach County. What do you do next? Well, let's talk about three mistakes that people often make when they do inherit a property. The first one is this, and this is a really big one. They sell too quickly. There's a lot of reasons you don't want to sell too quickly. Some of them are legal, a lot of them are financial, but the biggest ones are this. Typically with a inheritance property, it's very hard for the inheritor to establish a value of the home on their own. Now, if you're local, that's going to help you, but still there's a lot of things that are going to make a difference. Age of a roof, conditions on the interior, location. Also, are there any sort of, we'll get into this a little bit further in the next segment, but are there any liens or anything like that on the property, things like that. If you're not local, realize that places like Wellington and other areas in Palm Beach County the value of a home is going to be much higher just because of where it sits. And that varies greatly throughout the county. So, when somebody passes away, unfortunately, there's a lot of phone calls that are going to be made to, particularly by investors. They scour the, public records to see if somebody passes away, see if there's any real estate involved. And then they try to get in good. And if you are overwhelmed and you're just trying to get through it, you can sometimes leave a ton of money on the table, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So don't sell it too quickly. Get the advice of a local realtor. Find out what at least the property is worth before you make any decisions on selling it. The second thing is not understanding the probate process. Some properties may not need to go through probate. If they're in a trust and it's set up correctly, and there's Lady Burr trusts, there's different things like that, and those could just flow quickly. Some of them only need limited probate. And if they're in the probate process, depending on what's going on with the house, sometimes we get a writ to sell before probate's even over. But that's going to be basically decided by the probate attorney. If you are going through the probate process, make sure that you're talking to that attorney and understand where you're at in the process, and don't get yourself in trouble by signing maybe sales documents before you're legally allowed to do so. There's lots of little traps, and this happens a lot. So don't let yourself fall into them. Again, ask for the advice of professionals, realtors, CPAs, attorneys. The last thing is ignoring tax and title issues. Title issues have to do with things like multiple inheritors. There may be inheritors that you don't know about. There's so many things that come up in the process. You want to make sure that the process is handled fluidly from start to the end, because there are times where people will actually sell a property and then later, all of a sudden somebody comes out of the woodwork and then they have to remunerate them. It just can be a very difficult thing that's already added on to a very difficult thing. There could be homestead issues. There could be unpaid liens like we talked about before. You want to make sure that you know the exact state that the home is in, and make sure that, in some cases, I hate to say it, in some cases the house is so leveraged that there's really nothing going to come to the inheritors. It might even be a reverse effect. So it's a very difficult, complicated, and emotional process. If you inherit a home in Palm Beach County, make sure you get the advice of professionals to make sure you, A, understand the value of the property, B, understand the process, C, understand where you're at in the process, and lastly, but not least, protect yourself and make sure you don't put yourself in a position where you have liabilities because you acted too quickly because you just wanted to get through it. All right. Feel free to give us a call. I'm more than happy to answer all the questions I can for you, and I will see you right here in Palm Beach County soon.